Hello friends, it's me, your favorite Breckie again, and today I am taking you along on an editing vlog. Just in case you are curious on the editing process, I am working on book 1 of my Cully Bean Wolves Quartet. There'll be 4 books about wolf shifters in the Civil War, or sort of Civil War adjacent, because most of the main characters don't actually fight in the war. But I am in the process of editing through book 1, which is hopefully, unless mayhem ensues, going to be coming out the first week of August. I'm so excited. I wanted to kind of take you along on the editing process because editing is a lot different than drafting. For me, drafting is very exciting. I am a plantser, which means I'm half plotter, half pantser. I love to plot the major signposts of the beats. So I love to plot through the midpoint and maybe a few points afterwards with knowing kind of how I want things to end, what I'm working towards, but I don't plot every single beat. I don't plot every single scene. I don't sort of pre-plan every single moment. Instead, the excitement is getting into my flow state and letting the magic rush through me as I go from signpost to signpost to signpost and develop the plot arc the way it needs to go. I love that part. I don't love editing. Some people love editing because they can take a messy first draft and make it better. I get bored really fast because I know what's happening. And so the excitement is gone. So I am now going through, this is probably my 10th, 12th revision of this novel. Now, I want to say I started working on this novel when I was in high school. It has gone through a huge number of transitions in 20 years from when I had this very first idea. There's nothing in this that's from that early manuscript. In fact, I think I lost it and rewrote it in grad school. But the point is that this has been a massive work in progress and has taught me a ton about writing. I've written 4 or 5 other completed manuscripts and gone through the revision process a lot since then. But I want to kind of take you along and let you know how edits go because you've seen a little bit of drafting and now I'm going to show you a little bit about the editing process. Right now, I have feedback from a second beta reader in one document. I have 2 beta readers in one document that have read through this. The second beta reader offered me a lot of grammatical feedback because she's an English teacher, so I'm going through currently and accepting track changes from her. And then I'm going to start at the end and revise like the last 10 chapters. And this is because I like to do things chronologically, so my first 10 chapters are actually really good. They're really strong. I've gone through and fine-tooth combed those buddies. But then I get bored, and then I get tired, and I get distracted the further along I go. So to really hone in the end, and because she pointed out a few places where there wasn't enough tension, where there was a little bit of confusion, or maybe a minor plot hole that just doesn't make sense, I'm going to go through and really focus on the last 10 chapters and get those cleaned up. Keep a list of what I've changed so that I can go to the next 10 chapters and kind of work backwards. So I will go chronologically. I won't go backwards, like starting at the last chapter and work back 10. I'll start 10 chapters and work back down to the end. And I just wanted to take you along and let you know and see how this process is. I have an excellent new mug, and you can see I've got my bright lipstick on today because it's a Wednesday. But this is my new mug, Biblical Womanhood. This is a story of Yael or JL from the Book of Judges. This is the story, just FYI, as an aside, that inspired Tolkien. I can't think of the character's name because I'm not the hugest Lord of the Rings fan, but she pulls off her helmet and says, "I am no man." And it was prophesied that no man would kill the bad guy. And she's like, "Well, I am no man." This is literally the story that inspired that. Because it was prophesied that Sisera, the general Sisera, would not be delivered by the hands of a man, and he's delivered by the hands of a housewife and a tent peg. So it's a good day to be a biblical feminist. Okay, so anyways, I am going to hop into my edits, and I'm going to take you along. I'm sorry that the screen is blinking. I don't have a fancy enough camera, but I'm just going to be going backwards this way. It is currently Thursday, June 8th, and I wanted to give you an update on editing. I am currently, you can't really see my computer. I was going to show you, but it always has those funny lines. I'm currently working backwards and I started yesterday with chapter 42, and I'm now on chapter 54, 55. Let me tell you, I'm on chapter 54. And here's where we've got some minor plot holes. They're small. They're like plot snags, but one of them that a beta reader pointed out is that the main character still has some mentorship, and so she's not fully alone, which actually is something that I'm going for, because before Gail Carriger wrote The Heroine's Journey, a very early reader pointed out to me that it was very anti-feminist to constantly isolate characters and require them to do everything by themselves, and that it was actually way more feminist if I had them move together as a community solving problems. Not that you don't have your own internal arc and internal problem solving to do, but that we're not completely isolated as we solve things. This was, gosh, 7, 8 years ago. I got that feedback, and I've changed the trajectory of some of the story because of it. This is before Gail Carriger's The Heroine's Journey came out, which instead of moving the hero from into an isolated place where they have to kind of survive without their mentor, the heroine's journey is having that mentorship, maybe losing the mentorship, but moving towards community and building community. That's one of the kind of differences. Anyways, so the feedback is actually to not do that, but I think I'm going to defy some of it. However, the feedback is also really valid because the mentor is still totally there, and there's no reason the mentor isn't helping solve the problem. So I need to find a better reason for the mentor to not be helping her solve the problem. My beta reader was like, why don't you just kill the mentor? And I'm like, no. We need her still because there's more books to write. So, I've got to figure that piece out. I also need to ramp up some tension. I need to have another fight scene that isn't the big battle. I need one more tension ramping scene that makes the stakes higher and demands action now. And that could possibly explain why the mentor is unavailable. That's what I'm working on Thursday. The air quality is terrible. So my kids will be home again instead of going to the park. We gotta figure that out, y'all. I don't like living in a post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic dystopia. We're not really in the post part. We're in the apocalypse, it feels like. So to all my Canadian friends, I'm thinking about you guys, praying for you guys, praying that you get rain and everything you need to be safe. And to all my northeastern USA friends, I hope that you guys have ways to filter out all of those junkies in the air. We got all those masks from way back during the Pandoozle times, so maybe you should wear some of those when you go outside. I don't know. Maybe this was all just preparation for terrible air quality. Anyways, I will check in with you guys later. Friends, it is Friday the 9th of June and it is just about midday. I've spent the whole morning working on stuff for my day job, about 4 hours of work already, and I am getting ready to dive into some edits during my lunch break time. I do work from home most of the time and then I go into work 2 to 3 days a week, but I have various hours. Anyways, you didn't come here to hear about my day job, though I could do a whole video on balancing a full-time day job plus writing plus having a gigantic load of children. I have been mulling over some feedback from beta readers. I had another beta reader go back and kind of look at some things. Basically, I'm sort of stuck with how much of a developmental level revision am I going to actually tackle? Now, what is being suggested would require a lot of revision, but I think what I'm going to do is parse out the most important parts after having a conversation yesterday with my first beta reader. And I do think I need to add a chapter in that's going to ramp up some tension that I can do pretty easily, and then go back and sprinkle a little bit of missing pieces throughout the sort of middle act of the book. And that way I don't have to do a massive revision. And I also don't know that I want the direction that the book would go. Have I done the original suggestions? This is all very vague because if I gave you the details, it would spoil the book. So that is to say, I've put on some serious makeup. I don't know if you can see this. I put on my serious makeup today. Serious lip, serious eyes. I had a Zoom meeting, but also because when I have a full face of makeup on, I feel like I'm more in control and in charge. Like when I was in graduate school, when we would have big exams, I often would come in like dress pants and a nice shirt and like a full face of makeup, because it was like showing the test who was boss, who was in charge. Anybody else do that? Am I weird? That's something I started doing to psych myself up. So I am going to I'm going to sort of do a free write of what I think the next chapter is going to be. And then I'm going to go back and read the chapter before and the chapter after and see if I can slide it in there pretty easily without having to do a ton of rewrites. I think that's what I'm going to try to do the next hour and a half. And then I will, hopefully that will carry me, basically, if that chapter works, that will carry me through to the revisions of the actual ending of the book, the last final conflict, and then the resolution plus dangling non-resolution, because it's the first book in a series. So I'm excited. I actually think if I can just add one chapter in, a very short chapter, kind of building the tension, building the energy, building up to the big final confrontation, we're going to feel a little bit more satisfaction with that final confrontation. So let's get to it. Hello friends, it is now about 3 o'clock on Saturday, the 10th of June. Just double checked it. Wanted to give you a little bit of an update. I have just topped up my coffee for the day. This is my fun mug of different writers that I got, 20 years ago from the Library of Congress. And I love it. And it's one of the few mugs I've had from way back then that has survived all of my moves across the country. Okay. Wanted to give you some updates. I actually have some notes that are behind my camera. Wow, that was a silly choice. I started my manuscript revision with around 85,860 words, and currently I have 86,204. I am about a chapter and a half away from finishing the end. So that means I started at chapter 42 and I've worked all the way to the end, and we have 56. Did we move up to 58? We have 58 chapters in the novel. So I've done 42 to 57 and a half. So I'm halfway through 57, and then I have chapter 58. So we're almost there. We're at the end. I've taken out half a chapter. So this addition of however many words, I haven't done that part of the math, about 400 words. The addition of about 400 words is including the fact that I took out at least 700 words, 800 words, about a third of a chapter, maybe more than that. That just wasn't fitting. The flow wasn't right. It just felt like it wasn't where I was going, and I took it out. I rewrote some things, ramped up some tension. I'm getting ready, once I finish this last push, to send this last chunk to one of my beta readers, who is absolutely the most incredible human on the planet. Her name is Nicole, and she's my bae. Love her. She's awesome. So I'm gonna let her read it and make sure the pacing still feels good, that the changes still make sense. I mean, they seem like they make sense, but this is why you always have someone else read over your shoulder, so that what makes sense in your brain still comes through on the page. That said, once I do that, it means the sort of bottom almost third of the book is completed. Now, I've created a to-do list starting today of book stuff, and I need to edit, the last 1.5 chapters at this point. Then I need to go back, and I'm going to start at chapter 35 and work to chapter 42, and that will be the next chunk of things in my handy-dandy to-do list. This is sort of my book Bible, if you will, that has all of my notes, including, scene work, to-do lists now that I'm getting into promo for book 1. So you can see this was my to-do list for last week. Didn't get as much done last week because we are in the process of getting ready to move into our house that we bought and all that fun shenanigans. So I think tomorrow is going to end up being a no writing day, which is fine. My husband has the littles out for an indoor play date because the air quality is so awful, so we can't do anything outside. That's been challenging, but he'll be back within an hour. So I have 1 hour to try to get this last chapter and a half done. And once I do that, I don't know if I want to go ahead and see if I can get any other work done, or if I want to work on the promo side of things. I need to prep a newsletter to go out to my newsletter folks. I was going to send it yesterday. Time got away from me, so I'm planning on sending it Monday. And everybody who's on my newsletter is getting a free short story that I just wrote that will be going up for promo stuff. So if you're interested in getting this short story, I'll put the link down in the description if you want the prequel short story to this novel. It's a really fun short story. You see the heroine, you see her romantic interests, the ones that she knows and the ones that she doesn't know, and some Easter eggs that show up later in the series are hidden in the prequel, which I really love. So anyway, wanted to give you a little bit of an update, and I'll check in with you when I finish the last chapter and a half of this chunk of editing. Hello friends, it's Brecky, and I'm doing a little bit of an update. It is Friday, June 16th. It's my anniversary, so I've got on a black dress and some better eye makeup, and I gotta add some lipstick, but we're not quite there yet. Get ready to go out to dinner with my husband. Wanted to give you a little update before the children arrive. And that is, I've gotten through edits of chapters 35 to the end. So there's 59 chapters right now. I had to add a chapter in that I had taken out and then never fixed, and I just put it back in because it makes sense and the flow works really well. I had planned to change a reveal, and I decided to leave the reveal in. So I added a chapter. So from 35 to 60 is done. So we're almost at the halfway mark. And then chapters 25 and 26 are done, but 27 is going to need a little bit of work, and my attention span has been this big. So I'm halfway done with my edits, and I'm excited about it. I am ready to be done with edits. I'm ready to be done with this book so I can move on to the next book. I'm currently fangirling over all of the Bonded by Thorns and Woven by Gold series. It's the Beast of the Briar series by Elizabeth Helen. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been fangirling like crazy. It's fantastic. I'll do a video on it another time, but it's distracted me from getting my edits done. So wanted to go ahead and just let you know, have a little update because it's Friday and I think I updated on like a Monday. Did some good work at a coffee shop, and tonight I'm wearing a dress even, which I rarely do. I'm gonna go have a dinner date with my husband because we're celebrating 5 years of marriage, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, and we can actually go on a date without kids, which is also incredibly amazing. So I'll check in with you guys later. Hey friends, it's Brecky. It is Wednesday, the 21st of June. Happy summer solstice, Northern Hemisphere folk. Happy winter solstice, Southern Hemisphere folk. Y'all, I did it. I pushed through. I spent 3 hours power editing the last 15 chapters of the manuscript, and it's done. I've written the end. I am going to have a couple of beta readers do a super fast pacing beta read just to make sure it's all where it needs to be, but this is non-developmental. This is really just, is anything confusing? Did I not explain things? Getting those fine-tuning pieces. And then hopefully I'm done. If I'm not done after that, I have to push back my release date, which currently is still August 3rd. So hopefully this all works out. I'm in my oldest son's room currently. He is on vacay, and we've packed up his room for our move, which is in 4 weeks. So there's a lot going on right now. But I wanted to get this vlog filmed because I wanted to wrap it up and simply say it took me 2 weeks, I think, to do all these edits. Maybe probably more than 2 weeks, because, I'm trying to do a ton of writing, but I'm doing it in less than 10 hours a week. I think I have an average of about 8 hours a week that I can use, and I can't even use all of it every week. So it makes it hard to do all the editing, all the writing, all the pieces, and have the focus. I am not great about doing 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there. I do need to kind of get into the brain space to put aside everything else and just do the work. But I'm glad it's done. I'm glad I'm sending it to the last round of beta readers. Honestly, if this isn't the last round, I think I might give up. It's fine. It's fine. It's a beautiful book. There's always room for improvement, but it's a beautiful book. I'm proud of what I've written. I just want to make sure I'm getting the point across. There's no glaring holes or inconsistencies. it's not too slow. There's a couple places where I think it might be a little bit slow on pacing, and I want to make sure that's not just me who's read it 20,000 times. And then it's done. And as soon as it's done, as soon as I get this feedback, I am sending it to ARCs. I'm sending it to create the paperback proofs, and I'm just rolling with it. Thank you for joining me on this editing journey. Know that, editing is not a quick process, and I hope it's encouraging you to dive in, giving you some ideas for how to edit. Like I said, I mostly worked backwards, although I got to about the halfway point and I read it forward just to make sure those pieces were all in alignment. And know that, different people have different editing techniques. I don't do a lot of color coding in my editing, though maybe I'll try that the next go around. But I hope this encourages you to sit down and do your writing, do your editing, to not be afraid, to take the time you need. Know that it's going to be a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint when you're writing a book. So I hope this encourages you to do the things. I hope you're all doing well. Come hang out with me on Instagram. You can find all my stuff down below. And until the next video, y'all, happy writing.